Good morning, everyone.
Good morning.
Hello.
Hi. Okay, let's have a big hello to Suva. Hi, Bangkok.
Hi. Suhab reply. Hello. Thank you. Okay. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to our final plenary session today on the final day of the conference as well. Good afternoon to the Suva Hub. Good morning to the Bangkok Hub. And good day to the online participants. Lovely to see you all. I understand that our energy levels have gone down, but let me appeal to you all. Please lift your heads up for the last time as we are about to listen to our gifted keynote speakers on this final time. We need them to share with us. We need them to speak their great insights on water security and wars in Asia Pacific.
Thanks, Colin. And Bula to our Suva Hub. And also good morning one more time to our Bangkok. So this is it. It is our final day, but hopefully this is the beginning of many more exciting collaborations to come. My name is Wan Misap, one as a number, but please don't call me number one. I'll tell you during the coffee break why that is. I work with Alluvium as the project manager for Jesse and also water resource management, and currently based in the beautiful Vientiane in Laos, PDR. So joining me today is our beautiful colleague from Suva, Colin. So I'll hand over to you now, Colin, to give us a bit of who you are so that we get to know you a bit better. Thank you.
Thank you, Juan. So my name is Colin Benjamin, and I'm from the Solomon Islands. I work at the Solomon Island National University as a tutor and a researcher. I am also honored to serve as a national consultant for Save the Children on the project, The Effects of Climate Change on Children under 5 years old, including the mothers. Additionally, I collaborate with UNICEF on the Nutrition Environment Assessment Toolkit in schools. I never anticipated reaching this level in my career as a researcher and a national consultant at the undergraduate level, especially considering I only hold a bachelor's degree. My career has grown significantly from my role as a tutor to taking on research and consultancy work. Since joining the research team at the International Water Center and Griffith University for a project called Pacific Community Water Management Plus, which runs from 2018 to 2024, I have developed my skills and expertise. I can confidently say that water has saved my career pathway. If water has the true power to enhance my career pathway, I believe it can also guide us toward climate resilient pathway based on my experience. Okay, Juan, can you share with us what you have learned so far throughout the week since day one up until this final day? Thank you.
Thanks, Colin. And what an honor to share the stage with you today too, with your impressive background and knowledge. Thank you. So what have I discovered so far? I have to say I have more questions than answers. And one that particularly stick with me all night last night was that how might we reach the hardest to reach? How might we reach the hardest to reach? So hopefully we'll have some answers by the end of today. Let's see. And with that, I'd like to also hear from you, Colin. What have you discovered so far?
Yes, thank you, Juan. It was an amazing week for me too. I was challenged and motivated at the same time, listening to the inclusive perspectives on water security and what's futures shared from the researchers, policymakers, funders, and implementers within Asia Pacific. I want to share with you my favorite quote from the conference. I got this from my brother from the Solomon Islands, Mr. Exley Taluburi. He mentioned our role as academics and researchers is critical to collect and provide credible data to inform viable project proposals for implementing tangible developments in the water sector. You know what? As a researcher, I have been sacrificing a lot. I sacrifice my family, I sacrifice my time with family, I sacrifice my safety, travel by small boats across the rough seas in stormy weather. I sacrifice my happiness just to collect data from the rural communities in the Solomon Islands. At one time, I was thinking of quitting, but you know what? The data I'm collecting is helping the policymakers, funders, and implementers to bring 5 to 8 cups of clean water to a child under 5 years old and to a hardworking mother at home. And so I will never quit research on water because water is life.
Amazing. Thank you, Collins. Thank you for keep going and not quitting on us. Please don't. All right, so during this final plenary session, we will have a series of keynote speakers sharing their reflections on the key messages coming out of the conference and also how they see this being relevant to their context and their regions. And also, we hope to hear their words of wisdom on how do we move forward together. And we will hear from Asian perspective, the Pacific perspective, and also global perspective. And with that, firstly, I would like to introduce Her Excellency Busadee Santipitaks as our keynote speaker today. And very exciting is that Her Excellency was actually appointed by the Mekong River Commission Secretariat or Council, as the first female CEO of the Mekong River Commission. So I'm very, very excited about that. And she joined us in January 2025, and she's also very much our fourth riparian to hold this position. Ms. Santipitaks brings a wealth of experience from a distinguished diplomatic career at Thailand Ministry of Foreign Affairs, and prior to joining the MRC, she actually served as a Deputy Permanent Secretary. And apologies for this, I'm getting nervous all of a sudden. She actually, her previous roles includes the Ambassador of Extraordinary and, wow, I can't even say this word, Plenipotentiary of Thailand to the Commonwealth of Australia, and a spokesperson of the Ministry of Foreign Affairs of Thailand, and ambassador and permanent representative of Thailand to Asia in Jakarta. This is just only a brief summary. There's a lot more amazing roles that she has done in the past as well. So we are very lucky to have you as our CEO in the Mekong River Commission. And with that, I'd like to hand the floor to you. Thank you.
Do I stand here or? Thank you. Very good morning to you all, and thank you, Vaughn and Colin, for those. Sorry, thank you. Sorry, a bit of technical support so that you can see me and hopefully hear me better. It's good morning, everyone, and I'm so deeply honored and pleased to be here amongst all of you. Despite my career of doing diplomatic service, I think I'm here to learn. So in my new job, I certainly hope that I will be sharing with you some of my thoughts on the work that the Mekong River Commission does, and certainly look for the way forward of working together, because I think this, I want to thank the organizers for hosting this incredible conference and inviting me here today, because I think it's a critical juncture where we have to work together on climate resilience, and including for the Mekong River Basin. Let me try to get the slides. So I, here, it's not, whoops, sorry. Anyway, so that you can understand that the Mekong River Basin, certainly for many of you who are familiar with the region, for immense ecological richness, cultural diversity, and a lifeline for millions of people whose lives depend on it. Can I sort of make it broader in the... Is that okay? All right, okay. So for those of you who may not be familiar with the Mekong River Commission, let me walk through a little bit on our work. We are a regional intergovernmental organization established in 1995 amongst the 4 lower Mekong countries, namely Cambodia, Laos, Thailand, and Vietnam. And in short, you may hear about the 1995 Mekong Agreement. We just celebrated the 30th anniversary of the agreement just about a few weeks ago, and it's every 5th of April we celebrate Mekong Day to encourage that community involvement. At the same time, remind us of ourselves of the importance of the agreement, which have simple and powerful principles. So each country, member, a party to the agreement, has the right to develop its water resources. The Mekong River is a shared international water. So the right to these water resources, it has to be fair, it should not be harmful, and of course, a key part of that, major infrastructure and hydropower development projects are properly consulted within the provisions of the agreement. These principles, for the past 30 years, have helped us to foster peace and stability, and we will continue to work together for shared prosperity. And this, over the years, it's a foundation based on cooperation, and we want to overcome as much as possible confrontation. We work rooted in science. That's where the MRC Secretariat plays a role in science, in mutual respect and willingness to find the common ground on differences for diversity of actors. The organizational structure, it's very formal in the sense that we have member countries of the 4 countries, including a ministerial council and a working level at the Director General, Secretary General level at the Joint Committee from the relevant environmental or natural resources or water resources, ministries and departments. So basically, water security related, enabling environment for wash activities. So I think this is where our role is. The agreement has led us to the Mekong River Commission. The Secretariat sits in Vientiane, Laos, PDR, where one is from. And for 30 years, I think we have played a role in as a water diplomacy platform. We monitor the river, we assess the impacts of the development, and we bring countries together for dialogue. But dialogue alone is not enough. So we put our agreements into action. We deepen our cooperation with upstream countries like China and ensure that local communities have a stronger voice in the decisions that affect them in the Mekong River Basin. Secondly, as a living organization, the MRC is also a hub of knowledge and innovation. From the early days, with dedicated scientists and researchers meticulously documenting the basin's natural wealth, as sound science is the foundation for sound policy. We built upon this legacy. We create a comprehensive data archive that is a vital resource for the region and the world, and the work still continues. To advance the vision of the 1995 Mekong Agreement, we have developed a 10-year Basin Development Strategy, which covers 2021 to 2030, guiding the actors involved in the Mekong water-related issues towards better environmental, social, economic state of the Mekong River Basin. We also support actively the achievement of the Sustainable Development Goals and integrate gender and vulnerability considerations in our work. Our strategy is formulated based on a robust cooperative approach with the engagement of all the basin countries through the national Mekong committees, comprising interagency collaboration. I think many of you mentioned yesterday about how the ministries in charge of water-related resources and responsibilities, how can we work together? So I think the National Mekong Committee comprising the interagency collaboration is one example of how you set the national mechanisms to work the relevant ministries and departments to promote regional cooperation. So this aligns with the Mekong Basin's development priorities with key findings from the State of Basin Report, which we produce every 5 years. The latest one was in 2023, as well as national and regional priorities. We have relevant scenario assessments of the studies and basin-wide sectoral strategies. And this is what provides us with a solid foundation for our subsequent 5-year strategic plans. The strategic plan, we are now at the end of the cycle of 2021 to 2025. We're formulating the next one of 2026 till 2030. And of course, we have a work of the slide, a planning cycle in the MRC, a structured approach because it's a complex situation, it's complex challenges, but there are increased opportunities in the basin. The cycle is designed to be adaptive, incorporating new information and responding to changing conditions within the basin that we have to take into account. The key nature that I wanted to highlight is collaboration, collaboration, collaboration. So this collaborative nature is very important because of the active participation of the member countries at each stage, regional cooperation, and a shared understanding. So a variety of experiences had come into play. And engagement of stakeholders, including local communities, civil society organizations. We have annual regional stakeholder forum that we engage between the MRC and the different actors, and many of whom are also present here and participate in our work. Key component, development partners, to ensure a broad range of perspectives are well considered and integrated. So we are fortunate to have the support of major development partners since the start of our collaboration, such as Australia, Belgium, Flanders, Canada, EU, France, Germany, Japan, Republic of Korea, Luxembourg, New Zealand, the Netherlands, Sweden, Switzerland, whose financial and technical contributions are invaluable to the implementation of the MRC strategic plans and its activities. We also collaborate with a wide range of other partners, both within and outside the region, including governments, organizations. As you see, these are just some of the names that we partner with, all united, I think, with a shared objective, sustainable development and management of the Mekong River Basin. These partnerships allow us to bring the different expertise. We collaborate, we engage, we gain technical exchanges, share data and information, joint studies, and provide capacity building for the member countries. These partnerships and cooperation are now more important than ever when it comes to crisis management or situations that we have to find the know-how, the expertise. And of course, as you may recall, this region, we were impacted by unprecedented floods in northern Thailand, in Laos, in Myanmar, and then it was exacerbated by Typhoon Yagi. And as you may recall, it was the strongest storm in the 30 years in our region, causing over $16 billion in damage, 600 lives more than that, lost property, infrastructure across the sub-region, including China, Philippines, and Thailand. Vietnam were affected. So how do we work together to prevent these types or minimize the losses that we can? Climate change is something that we cannot ignore. It's already here. Floods, droughts, landslides, saltwater intrusion becoming more frequent, and the most vulnerable communities will first feel these impacts. And that's also a major core of the work of the Mekong River Commission: forecasting, monitoring, assessment, flood and droughts impacts. And this makes us even more, we have to be proactive in our work. We cannot keep silent or keep still. We certainly recognize the immense challenges before us, and we pursue actively various collaborative frameworks and platforms. We reached out, we have been working with ASEAN, establishing 2 so far, ASEAN MRC Water Security Dialogue, and that was very successful with my predecessor as a leader in that project, and it has helped us to engage at the various levels, ministerial levels, high-level delegates, and different actors, highlighting the urgent need of addressing climate change, natural disasters, water scarcity, and food security. So the water, food, energy nexus comes in. And of course, we delivered the key messages and recommendations, providing a roadmap for a more connected, a more resilient, water-secure future. Only through regional, multilateral, and transboundary efforts can we ensure that the well-being of our people and ecosystems are made. The message from that water secure dialogue was clear. Investment must go beyond infrastructure. It must be about the people, all-inclusive, nature, and long-term resilience. We need smart financing for water infrastructure, robust climate adaptation plans, and regional cooperation that links our efforts, and not just across ministries, but across the borders. So in that spirit, let me highlight a few of our concrete actions so that we are not just an intergovernmental talk-only platform. Of course, we need that technology and innovation. The MRC Secretariat developed last year, with the support of the UK, a One Mekong application platform, which is a major step towards disaster preparedness because we have the data, we need the technology and innovation to put this real-time, almost real-time data onto a platform showing the water levels and weather conditions that integrates use AI for timely disaster warnings and fosters community-driven network for sharing critical information. And this is useful because it's not only in English, it's all in the 4 languages of the Mekong countries. So the communities, wherever you are, you can access to this application. You can look at the water levels, critical conditions, even haze, and weather, temperature. And I think this is where we want to improve using innovation technology. And the next steps will be critical in that regard because we need that disaster preparedness. The next step is to have the communities drive the information based on local wisdom, community livelihoods, the way we predict, I think, early warning systems, the traditional know-how, they will be reporting to us at the MRCS via this Mekong application, One Mekong application, and you can download it from both your Android and iOS systems. So this is one way to foster this community-driven network for sharing critical information, timely, relevant, reliable, and efficient. We are partnering with organizations like the Pacific Disaster Center and the World Wildlife Fund and utilizing weather APIs from the Weather Company to ensure the app's effectiveness and outreach. And second, another example of our concrete action is transboundary cooperation. I think many of you would have been hearing about transboundary cooperation impact on water resources management. A clear example is working bilaterally between Thailand and Cambodia. Our 9C9T joint project is a model for bilateral water diplomacy. The project focuses on flood and drought management in a shared sub-basin. This project is supported by the German government and technical guidance from GIZ, bringing together upstream, downstream communities to co-identify challenges and co-create solutions. More importantly, through this initiative, the MRC is actively supporting the implementation of the natural-based solutions across the 9C9T sub-basin. There is a range of these solutions with the potential to build flood and drought resilience in this targeted area and in the context of the Mekong region, which is feasible and can provide significant benefits given the vast, diverse ecosystems, including wetlands, floodplains, forests, to name a few. We know that restoring and protecting these natural habitats can help us mitigate floods, improve the water quality, and enhance biodiversity. It can also help the Mekong region adapt to the impacts of climate change, such as sea level rise, saltwater intrusion, and changing precipitation patterns by enhancing the natural ecosystem's resilience. This project has also expanded to the HydroMet network, hydrological meteorological network, for improved hydrological monitoring and designed a transboundary early warning system. And we are doing an upscaling strategy to expand these efforts across other joint projects. We see these types of joint projects as exemplary of how we can conduct the climate risk and environmental impact assessment and identify solutions for the future. There is also a governance structure in this project, the 1990 project, to further enhance cooperation and coordination with the countries. Another project that I wanted to highlight briefly is the 3S River Basin Project. It's focusing on the Mekong, Sesan, and the Sipok rivers, another key initiative within the Mekong region for flood and drought resilience, sediment dynamics, fisheries, irrigation, aquaculture, natural resource-based livelihoods, and biodiversity, again, revolving around the Mekong River Basin-related issues and the impacts. So this is also very important as it also helps us to identify the joint transboundary priorities and develop the 3S Basin Atlas. Moving forward, we will be developing this master plan together, guiding the sustainable water resource development and flood and drought management in the region, and with the support of the governance structure to ensure the effective implementation and follow-up of these guidelines and recommendations. So these, we cannot, again, financing and finding know-how is very important to us. So these two projects, 1990 project and the 3S, we are also developing a concept note to access the Global Climate Fund so that as a funding proposal for transboundary ecosystem-based flood and drought management system and management for climate change adaptation in the lower Mekong Basin. So this will ensure the long-term financial support alternatively and implement critical resilience building measures. These initiatives, again, as I mentioned, seek to address the transboundary cooperation and also to improve the ways we collaborate and restore degraded watersheds through expertise, experiences, strengthen the water security, and improve the ecosystem resilience. Given the increasing frequency and intensity of floods and droughts due to climate change, these projects are essential for sustainable water resources management in the region. And on community resilience, an example, this is ongoing and it just started with last year, community resilience, participation, relying on traditional wisdom, how do we value add to their work and also improve the livelihoods of the communities. We are also investing in community level capacity and innovation in partnership, again, with the Thai Institute of Scientific Technological Research, or TISTA. We've launched a pilot project to promote Mekong products. So this will be launched this year. Each country will have a Mekong product to show. For example, in Cambodia, it will be on fish. On Vietnam, will be on coconuts. For Thailand, it will be white onions. And for Laos, it would be, as many of you know and are familiar and have tasted, the kai, which is a nutritious river weed, grown, I think, just if it's traditionally grown, it's only basically for 3 months of each year. And so we're trying to add value to that local wisdom and strengthen local livelihoods, tackle climate change and environmental impacts through science, technology, innovation. So we do a lab test of how we can cultivate that in laboratory environment. And this will, again, increase the production of kai, and we value add to champion this Mekong product through packaging, through introduction. So I think with these types of ways that the Mekong River Commission is, again, reaching out to the communities, I think it's how we can work together, and this collaboration becomes ever more important so that we can, again, improve the livelihoods of the people and value add this processing and involve them in the supply chain. And this, again, strengthens local wisdom. I think this is something that we all appreciate and have to protect, but we also have to find new means to do so. So these initiatives align with the national strategic priorities and plans, and we have to create these types of awareness activities, knowledge building, data information sharing, and community level. Dear delegates and partners and friends, this Climate Resilience Pathway Conference is very important, and we realize that climate resilience pathway is not linear. It is not perfect. It's not easy. It is a process, and it is necessary, but it is possible. Cooperation and funding will certainly be essential along this path. I think we have the data from different expertise, knowledge, that we work in our respective responsibilities and tasks. We certainly have the tools, we have the partnerships, but again, partnership and innovation will be ever more essential in this regard. So I keep stressing cooperation, collaboration, partnership, innovation. So let us move forward with that momentum. Let us invest not just in the hard infrastructure, but in the communities, the ecosystems, the enabling environments, and the shared knowledge. Let's not wait for the next floods or the next drought or the next typhoon. Let us leave no one behind. Let us stress that inclusivity is essential in our work. Gender equality is a priority, and we have to mainstream that in our work as well. Let us build together our resilience, step by step, project by project. Let's connect the dots. We have here, I think, represented by the different sectors that are involved in water resources, in water security. So reflects that we have certainly the will to do so, but we must work together. And as the UN Special Envoy on Water, former Foreign Minister Retno Marsudi said, let us take that action. Let's take action from here and build on the blocks that we have done in the past 3 days. Let us not just leave the rooms and disappear into our corners, but let us build from the constructive results of this conference together. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Ms. Santipitaks, for that very informative presentation. You have mentioned a lot of facts. That's really good to give us a push, not to sleep, as you have mentioned. Okay, we will take questions after all of our keynote speakers, if time allows, but please, you can stand by for some questions. Now, let me take you to the Sewer Hub, and I would like to introduce Mr. Akmal Ali as the next keynote speaker for today. Akmal is the coordinator of FALE Pacific and co-chair of the Water Security Advocacy Technical Working Group under the Pacific Resilience Partnership. Akmal has worked in Pacific development since 2006, leading regional efforts in humanitarian coordination, governance, and civil society empowerment. FALE Pacific is a program of PIANO, the Pacific Islands Association of Non-Government Organizations. Thank you, Mr. Akmal.
Come on, I can't hear you all. Ni Sambula Vinaka, and how they say in Thailand, Swadikra. This year's theme, Climate Resilience Pathways, Water Security, and WASH in Asia Pacific. Now, I don't really like the word to go together, Asia Pacific, because most of the time, with all due respect to our counterparts in Asia, we are overshadowed. So let's say Asia and the Pacific. Challenges us to reflect not only on what we built, but how and for whom. As we explore technical innovation, policy reforms, and cross-cutting financing, we must also ask, who defines these pathways? Are they inclusive of indigenous knowledge, local leadership, and community priorities? Are we ensuring that our resilience frameworks are not just climate smart, but also justice driven? Water security is not just about infrastructure. It is about people, power, and dignity. Resilience is not just the ability to bounce back, but the right to move forward with equity, voice, and vision. distinguished colleagues, friends, and guardians of the Pacific. I stand before you not just as a speaker, but as someone who has worked alongside our communities in storms and sun, despair and hope. Today, I speak from the heart of the Pacific civil society, someone who has seen both the failures of systems and the triumphs of our people. This gathering has reminded of us something important. Water is not just a response. It is our ancestor, our healer, our source of life. And yet the question we must ask today is, who controls it? Who decides how it is managed? And who is left behind in these decisions? Are we stewards? Are we guardians of our water to protect it and to make it accessible for our future generations? We must decolonize our thinking. We cannot decolonize climate and WASH responses until we decolonize our thinking. We cannot deliver justice through frameworks that were never designed for us. Too often, we have to translate our experiences to fit external templates instead of designing them from within. The Pacific is not a blank slate. It holds wisdom, systems, and leadership that have been safeguarded, our waters and people for generations. Let us stop designing for the Pacific and start designing with it. That is what rethinking our approach truly means. Diversity must go beyond gender. Countries like Fiji are home to Indo-Fijians, Itokays, Rotumans, Key Solomon Islanders, Rambians, Kyo Islanders, and many more. Yet, where is this diversity in our data? Where is it in the donor priorities? Why are some communities consistently invisible in climate resilience and WASH investments? Something to think about, right? We must ask difficult questions, and that's why people don't like me. Are we unintentionally reinforcing our systems of exclusion, even in the name of inclusion? And are donors willing to expand their lenses beyond the majority and to truly see the rich mosaic of our Pacific identities? Let me reflect through the lenses of the 7 principles of localization that Piango has developed with Humanitarian Advisory Group of Australia after our baseline studies in the 4 Pacific Island countries of Tonga, Vanuatu, Fiji, and Solomon Islands, where our first principle of partnership. Partnership must always be equitable, ethical. Partnership must prioritize mutual respect and long-term commitment. Leadership, local and national actors must define, lead, and manage responses, not just implement them. We must co-design things. We must be there from the beginning. Coordination and complementarity. Strengthen and fund existing local systems. Do not come to us with a framework and tell us to replace it. Because we know what suits us best. Equity and equality in the WASH sector is important. Participation. We must ensure meaningful participation of the affected community in every stage, from anticipatory action, from co-designing to implementation to monitoring and evaluation. We must be there. Policy influence. Ensuring meaningful participation of affected community. Policy influence. Local actors must be present and influential in decision making. Not just tick in a box, but they should be able to decide what is better for them, what suits them best, and if they want it. Capacity. Do not think of us as under capacity. Treat us as equal. We have lived our lives under the colonial systems. We speak English, and I think I speak English okay. Recognize, invest in, and strengthen existing capacities within communities. When you come in communities, look at yourself too. What capacity do you lack? You might have all this data, technical knowledge, scientific knowledge, but you might not know how to interact with us. Learn that. Make it a two-way street. Make it a fair and equal relationship. Funding. Provide direct, flexible, multi-year funding to local actors to enable long-term impact. The 7 principles. In this week, while looking at a lot of the sessions, while some talk about partnerships in decision-making, there is no local actors. There is no complementarity. People are brought on the table when 50% of the work has been done. And I'm sorry, I'm ruffling some feathers. Partnerships and power. Let's be clear, partnerships that do not share power are not partnership. It is neocolonialism. There are pipelines, basically. Just like the public water pipelines. There are times when you supply water and there are times you stop. We must move from project-based subcontracting to relationship-based to co-leadership. Civil society is not here to deliver your targets. We are here to shape our future. Local leadership means more than just being consulted. It means having the authority to define the problem, set the agenda, and allocate the funds. Participation is not a checkbox. It is the right. If communities are not at the center of decision-making, we are still working in the colonial era. The Busan Partnership Agreement on Development Effectiveness, paragraph 22B, already affirms that we, civil society, is an independent development actor and not a service provider or a backup plan. So why are we still looked out of the major policy spaces? Donors and government must create platforms and pathways for civil society to lead. True capacity strengthening begins with acknowledging what already exists. It's time we stop defining capacity as something communities lack and started recognizing it as something they live every day. You can have all the scientific data in the world, but you have failed if you cannot communicate, collaborate, or care. Human connection is our greatest tool in crisis. No localization conversation is complete without discussing money. If funding continues to bypass local organizations, then we are only localizing language, not power. Shift the money, trust local system, dismantle the barriers that keep communities dependent, shift power, move power to the local communities. Water is a connector. Water is just not a wash issue, it is a justice issue. It connects health, gender, environment, economics. Securing water is to secure peace, prosperity, and dignity. We don't want your charity, we want dignity. So when we talk about localization, we must also ask, how are communities shaping water governance? Are we ensuring that every voice, including women, youth, and ethnic minorities, has a role in protecting and sharing water? Genuine accountability means more than reporting upwards. It means listening downwards. It means a horizontal approach, not a vertical one, not a top-down approach. We must be accountable to the communities we serve. We must be accountable to not just to the donors who fund us. Let impact be measured, not by spreadsheets, but by the stories, by the impact it has made in our lives, and the lives it has changed, voices empowered, and systems transformed. My final challenge to everyone here: let's not return to our countries with just notes and name tags and those beautiful water bottles. Let's return with the resolve, a genuine intention, a genuine commitment. Let's build a Pacific where resilience is not measured by donor reports, but by the strength of our people. Where local wisdom guides global thinking, and where water is protected, not just as a resource, but as a sacred birthright. Vinakavakalevu. Thank you very much. May we rise from this conference not as a rhetoric, but with the responsibility and the courage to reshape the Pacific we genuinely want.
Wow, can I have one round of applause? Thank you so much, Akmal. And I commit to return to my country, not just with the beautiful bottle of water, but to challenge myself to decolonize my thinking. So thank you for that. And we absolutely respect and like you for keep asking challenging and difficult questions. So please keep doing that. And with that, I really like to welcome our final guest speaker today, Professor Juliet Willetts. Juliet is the professor and the research director at the University of Technology, Sydney. Sustainable futures with over 20 years of experience working in the Asia and the Pacific on finding the evidence on the water and sanitation. Her work has definitely shaped and influenced the change in the climate change approach, gender equality, and many more. With that, I also like to highlight that Juliet is working with UNICEF and WHO Academic Consortium to develop the indication for climate resilient wash. And for those that are joining us in Bangkok, her session will be here today as well. So make sure you join that. With that, I'd like to welcome Juliet up on our stage. Thank you.
So good morning and sawadika to people here in Bangkok, Bula Vinaka to those in Fiji, and good day to anyone who's watching online. It's an honor and also perhaps even an embarrassment to follow after Akmal's words. I'd like to acknowledge the knowledge, the wisdom that's come through your different generations that exists here in Thailand as well. We are here, someone such as me from Australia is here to help, to serve, to work on that equal level in the best way that we can. So we know that from these previous generations, they knew what resilience was. They knew how to cope, how to adapt, how to transform in their lives, the topic that I'm going to share this morning. And we can learn from this how we can address wash and water security in better ways. How do I get to my presentation? Okay, so we have a photo here. It might not be familiar. Is there anyone here who knows who this is? It's actually someone very important. We have at least one person in Bangkok. I can't see the audience in Fiji. So this person is Christiana Figueres, and she led the Paris Agreement 10 years ago. And when she talks about that experience, she talks about what it took to do the impossible. And what she said it took was a mindset of stubborn optimism. You have to believe that the impossible is possible to even embark. You have to have a vision so that you're able to take concrete steps towards that vision. You have to be ready to take responsibility and the opportunity to shape the future in the way that you feel is best and in line with your values. It's not about blind faith that something's going to happen, but it's a belief that together we can chart a course of collective action. And that's what I feel like we need today. So as introduced, I'm Juliet Willetts, and I'm from the University of Technology, Sydney, working on water and sanitation issues since I was around 18, 19 years old. And I was part of the design of the Water for Women Fund many, many years ago. I was living in Indonesia at the time, in 2017, working on the 1,000-page design documents that are needed to develop an initiative like that. And in this photo, you can see research that we did recently in Kalimantan, Indonesia. And this is the kind of issue that we need to address. The children, the floods. Yes, saying thank you. Children in a flooded area, that water has pathogens from toilets going straight into it. The children are playing, it's going in their mouths, etc. These are the issues that we need to address. These are the issues that need stubborn optimism. And in the face of adversity, despair is pretty understandable. I'm sure many of you, like me this year, has found it a really difficult year. We've all felt it with the reductions in aid and development budgets. We felt it with waning commitment to address global injustices and wider instability. It's a time when we need even more than ever stubborn optimism. And we have it amongst us. I was given notes from things that have happened in the Fiji hub so that I could have a better understanding of the conversations there and be able to share this with everyone in this final plenary. And Tureya Wickham, who I had the pleasure of meeting at COP28, she spoke about the challenge of addressing patriarchal norms. And what she said was we need to see every barrier as an opportunity. If we can do that, then you can do anything. So the 3 points that I will share today are, firstly, inclusive basic services underpin resilience. On adaptation, there are different ways to adapt, and we need to match what's needed with these different types of adaptation, whether that's coping, incremental change, or transformative change. And lastly, we need to both create more linkages, but at the same time keep a core focus. And I think that that's possible to do. I think it's possible with stubborn optimism. I think it's possible if you turn barriers into opportunities. And I think it's possible if you have shared collective action. So firstly, how basic services underpin resilience. Water and sanitation are human rights. And not just that, but so is the right to a clean and healthy environment. And as long as we don't solve sanitation issues in Asia and the Pacific, we can't give children, even adults, a clean, healthy living environment. Work we did 18 years ago created the first budget measure where the Australian government made a commitment to invest in water, sanitation and hygiene of $300 million. We need that same commitment to the fundamental underpinnings of climate resilience at the community level. Take your mind back to the plenary on Tuesday when Mary Alalo's presentation, do you remember she had the picture of the island and she told us about that was where she grew up and her childhood experiences of water scarcity. And she also told us that the Pacific has some of the lowest access worldwide. And here in Bangkok, in this room, in a session on sanitation, Shahid from SNV Bangladesh shared about low-income communities in low-lying areas in big urban cities in Bangladesh, and how they are at the receiving end of all the uphill people with poor sanitation. When it floods, it all comes down to these informal settlements. These are the issues that we need to address, and the people who are most exposed to climate change and who are highly vulnerable. And luckily, this is being recognised in global climate policy. So a milestone in 2023, when I was at COP with Alison and with Tureya, that was when the global goal for adaptation was agreed. And it wasn't an easy agreement. There was arguments that entire week, especially with richer countries saying they didn't want this goal because it gives us a measurement framework to say we commit to supporting adaptation. We commit to making progress on these different areas about exposed and vulnerable populations. And the first target in that global goal for adaptation is about water. It's about water scarcity, it's about water-related hazards, it's about climate-resilient water supply, and it's about climate-resilient sanitation. And this, now that it is being turned this year into a measurement framework, hopefully is going to see more climate financing directed towards adaptation with measures of these things that are fundamental underpinnings to community resilience. And that's very important because if we look at the climate change impacts on health, these need to be core to adaptation targets. So the latest burden of disease estimates for water and lack of water and sanitation is that every year 1.4 million people die. And with climate change, unfortunately, that gets worse. This is an article published in Nature. It has that more than half the pathogenic diseases in the world are expected to increase with climate change, with higher temperatures, with different levels of precipitation. And many of them are waterborne or vector-borne and related to water and sanitation. And so, lastly, on this issue of the relationship between WASH and water security and community resilience, work we're leading with UNICEF, East Asia and Pacific Office on how looking at the contributions and the interrelationships between these two. We can see already WASH is related to health, environmental protection, but there are many other areas if we do really well-designed and thought about interventions that think about the relationships to food security, to energy security. And in this research, in a trip to PNG, we heard about the interrelationship with conflict and peace. And as I saw amongst the notes again, in Fiji, a similar view was shared by Marianne Chambat from Red Cross. And she shared in a session on water as a tool for peace that when water security is compromised, community stability and peace are immediately also compromised. These issues are not separate, they're combined. And if we can work on them together, then we can solve more issues at one time. And equally, in our research on looking at what different academic papers say contributes to community resilience, and you find the same if you talk to people in communities in the way that Akmal described, social justice and equality are critical determinants of community resilience. We can't have a resilient community if we don't have more equal voice for women, men, for other genders, for the range of different marginalisation angles. And in the Tools for Transformation sessions that happened both here in Bangkok and also Fiji, we heard about how water and sanitation can be an entry point to make changes in gender equality, to make changes in power relationships and power dynamics. And there are so many tools that can help us deliver that change. And it was great to hear that reinforced in the opening ceremony that took place in Fiji. So the Honourable Tusiwao, Minister for Public Works, Transport and Meteorology, he, in his opening remarks, described how important it is that women are given voice in the spaces that before they didn't used to be allowed to even be present. So the contribution of WASH can be multifaceted and underpin much broader community resilience. Moving on to my second key point about different types of adaptation. I want to first start with a definition of climate resilient sanitation that was drawn together through a long consultation process. And this includes ideas about needing to anticipate, needing to cope, needing to adapt, and also transform in the face of climate-related stresses and shocks. And the thing is, depending on different levels of risk, we need to think what's needed. We don't need to transform if the systems that are already working. Equally, there may be different levels of capacity, and where there's a much lower level of capacity, then we may just only be able to look at coping. But if there are more resources and more skills and more capacities, greater adaptation or even transformation may be possible. And so if we think of this idea of how much effort humans put in and what the magnitude is of a climate response, we can start with the idea of inaction. So we just close our eyes. Climate change is not here. There's unfortunately people who still believe that's true. And water supply services will be disrupted. Sanitation will contaminate the areas in which we live, and there won't be any preparedness. Or we can have, is it coming? Yes, okay. We can have coping. So that's where we're able to think about having backup supplies. We've heard about the use of rainwater harvesting. We hear about water tankers that are coming into communities at times of need. And we hear about people being able to access other sanitation facilities at times when their own may not be accessible, or a healthcare facility that has extra water storage capacity. So there are many things that can be done to cope. They're good and they can help, it can work. But do we really want to go back to the same starting point each time when we can actually predict that these disasters are going to happen again and again? And that's why we need to think about incremental adaptation. In the Pacific, there were conversations about pre-planning something like menstrual hygiene. What are we going to do when we don't have access to menstrual hygiene products during times of disaster? Can we think ahead and plan for that and make them ready and available? And in sessions on water safety planning, both here in Bangkok and also Fiji, how can we raise awareness of climate risks and have communities think about and talk about what preventive actions they can take? And in Cambodia, lots of work done on technology design. How can we design toilets, facilities that are able to withstand the conditions in which they're found? And lastly, transformation. Transformation is being talked about more and more by the IPCC, and unfortunately, as we pass the threshold of 1.5 degrees, bigger changes are afoot. We heard yesterday in the plenary from FAO, if we think about glacier runoff, if we think about, I heard in the news last week that it's not just uncertainty that we see in the climate systems, it's actually that some climate patterns may be unrecognisable. So if this is to be the course of our future, then we need much bigger action. We need transformative action that requires bigger resources, wider ranges of stakeholders, and greater changes in power and values to underpin much larger change. And it might mean stopping doing some of the things that we're already doing. So in the area, as you might have picked up, I've given a lot of sanitation examples. In sanitation, we're still building unsealed systems that go into shallow groundwater, contaminate shallow groundwater in areas that flood. We need to change some of our practices and transform them. We can't just keep doing the same thing if we look ahead to a certain future. And also yesterday, a session here in Bangkok was on circular economy approaches. How can we think about how to use principles that help us reconfigure the way we provide water and sanitation and bring in those different co-benefits in food security and other sectors? So we need to match these different types of adaptation to the climate risks that are present in a given country, in a given island, within a Pacific country, for example, or a different part of Indonesia or of Thailand. They need to match the level of risk, and maybe we will be able to just cope because it's not such a huge risk in certain places. In other places, incrementally adapt, and in other places, really transform and think about how to do things much more differently. And moving on to my last point about increasing linkages and yet maintaining our focus. I wanted to bring to you if it clicks, a view of the planet we're living on through the eyes of people who work on planetary boundaries. This is scientific knowledge that helps tell us whether we're working within a safe operating space for this planet or whether we're tipping ourselves out of that. And the scary story is that 6 out of the 9 boundaries have been transgressed. That means we're in dangerous and uncertain territory. And it means that as we work on water and sanitation and water security, we need to think about how we also work on biodiversity. And we had sessions on nature-based solutions that can help us think about working on those different goals together. We can't just work in isolation. And then that takes us to the need to collaborate in linking water services with water resource management and with groundwater management. Groundwater management is something that's often not discussed. We haven't had many conversations about it here, and yet in some islands of the Pacific, that's going to be the most climate resilient resource. And how can we harness it but not overuse it? How can we learn and have the same kind of knowledge that we have, say, about the Mekong Basin? How can we have similar knowledge about groundwater resources so we can manage them for people and for other uses? And we've heard over and over through this week the need for coordination. Fantastic example again from the Mekong River Commission, but also the need in each place to work across health, to work across environment, infrastructure, ministries of mines. There are so many different agencies that are important and need to be working together. And lastly, back to the core focus. So I am someone who works and is passionate about water, sanitation and hygiene, and I'm very concerned that this region of Asia and the Pacific is very, very off track. So the two graphs on the left, I'm not sure if the little text is possible to read, but what it tells us, I can tell you, is that for basic water, only really Vietnam and Indonesia are on track. For basic sanitation, several countries are on track, but still not many of the Pacific islands. And underneath that orange part of the graph is countries where things are going backwards. That's the last thing we want to see happen. And on the right, we see the trajectory for safely managed services. So the countries, we ideally would have them all sitting in the top right corner of both those graphs, but horribly, they're empty. And we're 5 years away from the end of the SDGs. So there's more to be done, and there's more that we can do by giving a core focus to water, sanitation and hygiene in the investments by governments, in the investments by donors, if we've got stubborn optimism that that's possible. So what do we need to do? What would I like you to do? What would I like myself to do next? It's to critically reflect. It's the end of an era, I think, and there are many successes through the development funding from the Australian government and through all the efforts of people in Pacific Islands, in Asian countries, to support improved services and to support better water security. Water for Women has contributed access to more than 3.4 million people over a 7-year period. It's a fantastic result. It's a fantastic contribution. And what's better is that it was done with the principles that Akmal just spoke about. It was delivered with a focus on being equal partners, on bringing voice to people without voice, and on ensuring that inclusion was central to the way that the fund was run. And what it's been able to do is link community voices all the way up to global processes and find the relationship between those two to have influence. We need to work at all levels. But equally, it's nice to look at successes and feel good, but how about the failures? So the paper that's on this picture is a paper by Danny Barrington, who's in Perth. It's about WASH failures and being honest about things that we're doing that are not working. And we heard that in some of the sessions this week. We heard Isha Pasyal, who spoke about subsidies for sanitation and the fact that they're not inclusive so far and they're not equitable. And so the little funds that we've got isn't supporting those who are most vulnerable, those most exposed to climate. There's things we can do better to bridge the financing gap. We heard that in all the plenary sessions, the need to raise political priority. Otherwise, there's no way we're going to get to budget priority. So how can we work in different ways? How can we work more on advocacy to make those bigger changes happen? And another failure is already referred to, the need for decolonisation, the need to switch roles, the need to work in more equal partnerships with one another, and how can we all critically self-reflect and work in different ways to do that. Anyway, you'll also have your own ideas from this week about what you feel is working, where you feel it's not, and where you feel that you want to direct your energy and your priority. And so coming back to my key points, let's make sure we're still working on basic services that underpin community resilience. Let's work on different types of adaptation based on need and different levels of risk and capacity. Let's both increase the linkages, but without losing a core focus. And I think if we can take on Cristiana Figueres' stubborn optimism, I think that we can do that. Thank you.
Thank you so much to our wonderful keynote speakers. So we have heard from Her Excellency Busadee on the regional and global landscape and the importance of valuing and integrating local knowledge, indigenous knowledge alongside scientific knowledge. We have been challenged by our speaker from Suva, Akmal, on us having to keep decolonize our thinking. And finally, from Juliet, you remind me of like a captain of the ship, so you have to keep a lookout of what's to come and get ready before we actually hit that storm. So thank you for reminding us that. And with that, we have time for questions. So I would like to invite our participants in Bangkok. If you have a very, very, very short question, the floor is yours. Hand at the back first, sorry. Magna, is that right? Yes. Do we have a microphone?
Perhaps just while the microphone is going to Meghna, I will just bring in a question that's come from the online audience, and it's for Her Excellency Ms. Santipitaks. The question is, how does the MRC engage with academia to use evidence for decision-making and other partnerships?
Thank you very much for the question. Indeed, academia is a very important part of our work, certainly through project proposals that are the responsibilities of the MRC when it comes to various aspects of sustainable development management of the Mekong River Basin, whether it's on the ecological health system, whether it's on the agriculture, aquaculture, fisheries, sediments. So there are different areas that academia can be involved with, and certainly we have been involving the academia in our work. So I think just wanted to highlight the importance of that, even though I may not have specified, but I did mention about the researchers and the scientists and the data that is the crucial part of our work.
Over to you, Mana.
Thank you so much. Wow, what a wonderful start for the last day. And I'm really beyond inspired right now. To Mr. Ali, I think your stance on colonization really struck a chord with me, not just me, most of us present here in Bangkok, I'm sure in Fiji as well, since a lot of us here are still reeling from the after effects of the atrocities and injustice that were carried out due to colonialization. So I have been actively exploring the narrative of neo-colonization in climate change discourses since past couple of years now. So you said that human connection is our greatest tool in times of crisis. And as youth, we are facing a brand new challenge with the rise of AI that I truly believe is the latest colonialism that has been inflicted upon us. Since it follows, all the traits of previous colonial trends, that the AI models were trained on data that was taken mostly without consent from communities. They were never asked or given credit for this data. However, today, these models are shaping decisions without truly understanding our languages, cultures, and lived realities, even living realities. So my question is, and please, Juliet, feel free to answer as well if you want, because you also touched base upon this topic. My question is, how do we reclaim our voice in such systems that were never really designed for us? Thank you so much.
So I will thank you very much for that wonderful question. Now, when we talk about, talked about a number of things, but in the Pacific, we thrive on relationality. Even before people came in, traditionally, indigenous communities are related from one province to another. I'm from Nandronga and my mom is from Ba, and the people of Kandavu, we rule over Kandavu. So if you know what I mean, Kandavu and Ra, if you are there, the kings of, so you know this relationality, if you know what I mean. There are traditional relationships. So if people from one province to another know where you are from without being related by blood, you will know what your traditional relationship is, and you will enact and act in that particular way. So the thing is, at the end of the day, when we talk about this relationality, it's about compassion. How much compassion do we have for the other, and how are we able to listen to the other without judging? And that is where our Talanoa frameworks come into place. Dialogue, talk. We talk to each other. When I talk to an individual, we have always been taught not to look at the color of the skin, the hair, or the looks, or the clothes. We look at another individual as a person. And when you look at anybody with that lens, you start feeling what they feel. And then you start empathizing, and you know what to do, and you really listen to them. You listen to understand, but not to reply. Because when we listen to reply, we try to bring in solutions that are already running in our head. We must work to find a joint solution. Joint solutions are sustainable. Adding on to the current generation, of course, I run this youth program for the last 10 years in Fiji. I've worked with over 500 youth in training them, capacity building them. And what is the biggest challenge we face? This year, while we're trying to do a admission to our program, we had more than 100 applications, and guess what? 50 gave us ChatGPT responses. Now, out of those 50, there were some so smart that they even put the command. I've never been to UNA Fiji program, but can you please put these points down? And they copied and pasted the whole thing. So my secretary brought that to me, and I said, oh my gosh, I am about to faint. The problem is not ChatGPT. I think if you use it properly, it is a constructive tool. However, the problem is in our current education system. Today, truly, I saw the data from Ministry of the Ministry of Education, where scholarship in Fiji is no longer being given on merit, but on race. It is mind-blowing, and there was a time when we had mediocres coming out from our system. So people with surface knowledge, today, when you ask youth, it is a generation of Instagram, instant gratification. There is no research. There is no people-to-people connection. People sit together and still are on their phones. So there is no real connection, relationality. We are from a generation where we didn't have mobile phones, where TV was a privilege once a week. And if you watch TV, we'd be so happy, you know. If you listen, and on Saturday, my mom, there was Saturday night, there was a program from 8 p.m. My mom would allow me to listen to that. The rest of the time, we were told to mingle with our families, spend time with our cousins, climb mango trees, fall from tamarind trees, go on. I was talking to somebody today. I'm from a generation that has lived through experience, that has gone through cyclones. I remember in Cyclone Kina, I was just 11 years old, and our roof was about to fly off. And the three of us were in a small room, four of us, me, my brother, my mother, and my father. And literally our house was not even tied, and we were just praying to God that, our life was saved at the end of the day, at the end of that night. And that was a horrifying night. So it is through lived experiences. Our academic system, while embracing this Google and everything, must go back to reading books, reading facts, evidence-based policy advocacy. People say, I'm passionate. I'm only passionate because I've lived through it, and I know what my fellow Pacific Islanders are going through in Renal and Ballona, in Efate, in Samoa, in Apia, in Savai'i, in Tokelau. If you've been there, you've lived with the community, you know what it is. So that's just my few comments. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Akmal Ali. Great insight from you. And thank you, Juan. Unfortunately, our time is up, so I won't allow you to ask questions, especially the SUA hub. If you want to ask some questions, you can meet Mr. Akmal Ali outside, and you can ask questions or take photo with him. Okay, now I think we are moving on to the very important part of the plenary, and it's time for Posters Award. I believe you're looking forward who's going to be the winner for today, and we're going to cheer the winner. Okay, so I'm going to introduce Dr. Regina. Dr. Regina is an associate professor and director of the International Water Center at Griffith University. And as a co-host of this conference, Regina is also the conference director. Thank you, Regina.
Thank you, Colin. IWC is really proud to be running this conference with the Water for Women Fund. And we're grateful to our hosts here in Fiji, the University of the South Pacific and the Government of Fiji, and in Bangkok to the UN Conference Centre there. We're also really excited to have sponsored the award for the best poster. This is a judged award, and I'm pretty sure the task was difficult for those judges. There were a lot of excellent posters, both here and in Suva, and I really want to acknowledge and thank the efforts of those poster authors. The poster exhibition has formed a really important part of this conference. It gave us the opportunity to really dig in deeper to some projects at our own pace on the aspects of the projects that were of interest to us. And it gave us an opportunity for some nice professional networking as well. And I'm sure this was also the case in Bangkok. So the task for the judges was very difficult, and I would like to thank them, Dr. Sarah Penne from USP here, Manasa Chisulu from the Water Authority of Fiji, and Mary Alalo from SPC. Here were the Suva judges. Take any issues up with them if you have any concerns. In Bangkok, thank you to Brooke Yamakoshi from UNICEF, Gabrielle Halcrow from SNV, Bronwyn Powell from the International Water Centre, and Naomi Francis from FH Designs. So as well as the judged poster, the best poster, which was a judged award, there is a second award for the most popular poster, which you all voted for. And that award has been sponsored by the Water for Women Fund, and we thank them for their support for that. So on to the winners. In Suva, I'm excited to share the winner of the IWC Best Poster Award goes to the poster titled, "What Does Climate Resilience Look Like? Ask the Community," from World Vision Vanuatu team. Thank you. Please come down to accept your award. Is anyone from the Vanuatu team here? Pamela? Thank you. Great. While she's making her way down here, the winner of the most popular poster award, you can take this up with each other if you have issues about this, improving water security through climate resilient water systems in Vanuatu and Tonga from the Live and Learn team. Well done. Thank you again. I'm going to hand over to you, Dr. Alison Baker in the Bangkok Hub, to share the news of the award winners in Bangkok. Thank you.
Thank you, Regina. And I can also confirm that, yes, the judging panel that was here had many meetings. I saw lots of huddles. No, we needed to go back again. So they had a really, really hard job in terms of deciding what their judge's choice was as well. So thank you to the four of you for that persistence. And I will now announce the winner, which is how much does safely managed and climate resilient rural sanitation cost? Analysis of the life cycle costs and distribution in Champon District, Lao PDR, and the author of that was Alejandro Valenzuela from UTS ISF. So you want to... Alejandro, if you'd like to come down, and if there's anybody else on your team that's here, they're more than welcome to come down as well. So while Alejandro is coming down, I will now move on to the popular vote. And as Regina said, any issues, then take it up amongst yourselves. And the winner of that prize was Communities as Partners, Not Just Beneficiaries. The author of that was Eni Rashmi Mutia from the Solar Chapter. And I think that's a very fitting prize considering everything that we've actually talked about this morning. So welcome to Eni. So that's it from... There you go. And we do need to change it, but we'll get that in a second. Do you want to say anything quickly? Oh, yeah. Are we allowed a quick word or no? Am I going to be told no? No. You got... No, it's okay. 10 seconds. No pressure.
Okay. Thank you so much. It's really appreciate this poster. More than the poster or the design of the poster is the opportunity that I had to conduct the research and the learning how much important is climate resilience in sanitation, and specifically in rural area. That is an area that needs more exploration. Hope this research or the research in general in rural sanitation could continue. Thank you.
Thank you, Alejandro. And I suspect the representative from the Solar Chapter is not here this morning yet. Is that correct? Looks like it. So I'll finish up there and hand back to you.
Thank you so much. Congratulations, and congratulations to all of you who might not win, but you are still winners. So congratulations.
Thank you, everyone, and thank you, Bangkok Hub, and bye, one. We'll miss
Bye,
you.
Colleen. Bye, Suva.
Yeah.
And with that, please join me in thank you one more time to our beautiful and amazing speakers, Her Excellency Busadee, Akmal, and also Professor Juliet.